people, welcome back to Nick J. Francis' channel once again. And Arsenal have just beat Leicester away from home 1-0, and scrappy, very, very scrappy. Trossard scored an absolute banger, a ridiculous goal, disallowed from VAR. Very, very, very soft. I think on balance, maybe it was the right decision, but it feels soft. We've been screwed by VAR so many times that I just never really have any trust or good feeling towards it. But I think maybe they got it right this time. I'm not going to lie. Very, very silly from Ben White holding onto the arm of the keeper. I think the keeper could have done more to get himself out of that situation, but that's not, that's not his responsibility to do. It's Ben White's responsibility to not foul him. So there you go. So I feel bad for Trossard in that sense, but he kept going and got himself an assist, nutmegging a defender, and Gabby Martinelli getting his goal. So 1-0 away from home, and we look so much more fluid. This was like a tester. This is like a little warm-up for Gabby Jesus coming back, because we look so much better when we are fluid up top, and we just, Eddie Nketiah has been chipping in with some goals since the World Cup, and he's more than capable of scoring goals against most teams. He's shown that already, and we have to respect having someone that gives us a real focal point. But for the way that we've been playing football with Jesus, it was so good to see Trossard, Saka and Martinelli all starting, with Trossard through the middle and Trossard drifting wide and doing that real flexible, rotational type of football that Mikel Arteta likes. And I think that's going to be the way forwards, the way that we're going to win potentially leagues, European trophies, any type of trophy, is playing that flexible total football where the players can interchange. There were so many times, like I say, Trossard drifting out wide, Martinelli drifting inside, Saka pretty much sticking to his position, and that's how we got the goal. That's how we got not the second goal, but the actual goal that counted. It was Trossard drifting wide, putting the ball through the defender's legs, and Martinelli getting in, and we should have won 2 or 3-0. There were some scary moments in the game, and I think it was not more competitive than it should have been. But in the first half, that final ball was lacking a little bit. Like just the last final pass. Zinchenko and Ødegaard had very good games, but that final ball from them both was a little bit sloppy, a little bit lacking. We weren't creating that many chances. We again went back to not shooting from the edge of the box, which I feel like we only do towards the end of the game when we start to get desperate or when things get really competitive. So the game was more competitive than I think it needed to be, but at the end of the day, we got the win. What more do you want? I think Jorginho put in another really, really good performance. Thomas Partey came on for the last 10 minutes because he's still carrying a bit of that injury, and he's proven himself, Jorginho, once again, to be a super, super capable understudy to Partey, or even someone on that same real type of level, because they are around the same age. They have similar levels of experience playing at top level European football and different things like that. So I think, to call Jorginho an understudy at this point is maybe a little bit of a disrespect, but certainly him and Partey kind of almost battling it out at the moment for that DM position. The second half we come out, and something that I know, the way that I know that this team buys into Arteta's philosophy and they buy into Arteta as a manager, the main way that I know that is we are so dangerous from 45 to 55 minutes. That first 10 to 15 minutes of the second half, we always come out flying. So we know whatever he's saying to them is having a real impact. I've covered other games on DR Sports and other games that I've watched where a team is flat going into the half and they come out in the second half and they're still a little bit flat, and it means that whatever the manager's told them, whatever motivation he's tried to give them, it hasn't really worked. It hasn't really paid off, because obviously they haven't been able to change the tide of the game. This is a big, big game for us with regards to the title race. We know that Leicester have been struggling. They had no Vardy starting, no Tielemans starting, no James Maddison starting. We had to go out there and really, get all 3 points. Nothing, and we're getting into that point with this team, as we come down the home stretch of the league, that we want 3 points from every single game. It's going to be the same. We've still got to go to Stamford Bridge. We've still got to go to Anfield. Places that we haven't. Well, Anfield, I think we played at Stamford Bridge. I'm not sure. Can't remember. We've played Chelsea once. Can't remember if it's Stamford Bridge or not. But we still got to go to Anfield, where we have a terrible record in recent years. And the way Liverpool are playing at the moment, nothing less than 3 points is really acceptable, to be honest with you. And that's where we're at. So we're going into games now with that type of confidence, that type of cockiness that we're making every ground feel like our home ground. And it's really good to see the players dealing with the mentality side, the mental side of that, and stepping up to the expectations. We've had a young attack for so long with Saka, Martinelli, Gabby Jesus and Nketiah, Reece Nelson. we've had these Marquinhos, we've had these young players for so long that having someone come into the team like Trossard, who's just a seasoned professional, although he hasn't played for a big six club, although he hasn't played from a top Champions League European club, he's a very seasoned professional. And seeing someone come in that's a seasoned professional like him just shows what we've been missing a little bit, because he just doesn't make too many mistakes. He doesn't do a lot of the flashy stuff with the skills and, you know, a lot of that stuff that's really aesthetically pleasing. But he's such a mature player, and it's such a breath of fresh air to see someone who's calm, composed, and a bit of a pure footballer, in the sense that, you know, on that left-hand side with Trossard there, Martinelli there, Xhaka chipping in, and Zinchenko at left-back, we rarely lose the ball unless we make a mistake, unless we make a dodgy pass or a dodgy first touch or something like that. Between that left-hand side and those 4 or 5 players linking up, we just do not lose the ball. For me today, man of the match is Gabriel. Once again, somebody who's going to go under the radar because, you know, the game, all people care about is goals. But this guy barely put a foot wrong today. Aaron Ramsdale didn't have a huge amount to do at all today. Leicester didn't have, until the last 10, 15 minutes of the game, they didn't have a single shot. And certainly not a shot. I think they had 1 shot, but no shots on target or something like that. They were limited to really minimal shots and minimal chances on goal. And a lot of that was down to Gabriel. Gabriel not just winning his individual duels and dealing with someone in Iheanacho who's quite a technical player, really quick, and he's a difficult player, tricky customer, as you might say, Iheanacho, but organising. A couple of times when Leicester was sitting back and trying to catch us on the counter, when they were countering us and we had numbers over, you could see Gabriel was the person. Saliba's very good, but he's still young. Gabriel's the person pointing him in the right direction, pointing Zinchenko, even Ben White, dictating where they go and what runner they face, and just really organising that entire defensive department. And I think that, again, he's got to be the man of the match. I think Trossard had a really good game, but he came off after about 70 minutes for Nketiah. Martinelli had a decent game as well. Obviously, he got the goal, but he didn't have a great first half. Saka was really, really good as well. But I just think Gabriel, you know, we come out of that game 1-0. They were countering us a lot. And if it wasn't for Gabriel, he's the one player I think that if we take out of our team, this game ends up looking very, very different. And he just gives us so much composure. I know that there's going to be clips of him making mistakes and different things like that because he's a centre-back. Every single centre-back has that. We look at Virgil van Dijk at Liverpool. He's been one of the best centre-backs the last 5 years. And still he has, you know, howlers and makes mistakes. And that's part of being a defender. But he's been so consistent this season, Gabriel. You know, we do have cover for him in Jakub Kiwior, and I'm excited to see him play. But at the moment, he's just undroppable. And it's one of the reasons he's played some of the most minutes for us. In terms of the referee, and I mentioned already that the VAR decision, I think, was the right one to disallow the goal, as frustrating as that is. We still need a little bit more protection going into the last 10-15 minutes of the game. Saka was getting fouled all game, but in the last 10-15 minutes of the game, it was just foul after foul after foul. Some of them were deliberate, some of them were accidental. And I will say that some of them were just sloppy mistakes more than deliberate aggressive fouls. But there's just foul after foul after foul, and it's getting ridiculous now. You know, Xhaka was in the wars last 10 minutes. You know, I think in a 3-minute spell, he got fouled 4 or 5 times. You know, so there needs to be a little bit of not just policing the game, but managing that intensity level of the game, because if the referee lets things go, that emboldens players and teams to keep doing those same type of tactics. And we want the game to be a football game and not a rugby game or a boxing match or anything like that. So I do think there needs to be some protection, but overall, the officiating, I think, wasn't too bad. But we dominated the game so much. There weren't too many hairy, scary moments to go to VAR or to look at too many different things. It was a pretty straightforward game. Obviously, it was only 1-0, but this is it. You know, people said for us to be champions this season, we're going to have to get to a point where we're going to have to start grinding out some 1-0s, and it's not always going to be amazing football and 2-3, 4-0 and free flowing and different things like that. There are going to be times where you're going to have to score a goal and just sort of grind it out. And today was one of those games where we just had to grind out the 1-0. Jamie Vardy came on late and they tried to stretch us. They looked much more confident when he came on the pitch, but you know, our defense stood strong, and you know, there was no way they were getting through today because we were just that good. And even when they do counter us, we have the pace and the legs to just counter them straight back, you know. So people really are worried about attacking us at the moment, which is a really good sign. But with 5 points clear at the top again, and Manchester City is about to kick off in any second now, as I'm about to upload this video. So Man City's got Bournemouth. They're away at Bournemouth. And last time I said Man City should definitely win. They drew, so hopefully I can jinx them again. And Man City should definitely win today. But, you know, a team of Man City's quality, we have to operate on the assumption they're always going to win, especially against teams in the bottom half of the table, like a Bournemouth. You know, you've got to be thinking Man City are probably going to pull them apart. So we have to just focus on what we do. We have the lead, we're in the driver's seat, and we need to just keep putting more and more pressure on them to go out and win every single game that we've got. And kind of take it away from them, really, and not really give them a chance. If they drop points, that's fine, but we just stick to what we do, because we have this advantage now, and it's just about remaining consistent and fighting for 3 points every single game. Let's keep an eye on Thomas Partey's injury. You know, he's a key player for us. Jorginho took a bit of a head knock today. He seemed to be okay by the end of the game, but, you know, with El Neni out as well, we can't have all of the players in that position out. But we really didn't need to use our bench too much. I feel like there was a bit of rotation. I think Eddie Nketiah, you know, got some minutes because he deserves some minutes. He's been playing well. Tomiyasu coming on for Ben White to keep him fresh. But we're not really needing our bench in games like this, and that's totally fine if we're not really pushed to it. We don't need to change the game plan. Things are working quite well, and we can reserve some of these players for big Europa League games coming up against Sporting, which is going to be a really challenging game, because Sporting are a very, very good team, and they tend to score 2s, 3s and 4s every week. So it's going to be really, really interesting, that game. But yeah, that's all I've got time for now. 5 points clear. You know, we can't really complain too much, and it's just about maintaining consistency now.